Kevin Lankinen stands tall as the Canucks sneak past the Seattle Kraken 3-2 in a shootout. We're breaking it down. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. Season's greetings, everybody, and welcome inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. It's Rink Wide Vancouver. It's the Vancouver Canucks defeating the Seattle Kraken by a score of 3-2 down the I-5. I'm Jeff. I got Earth back once again. The gang is all here. Jacob Lazar, our technical producer, as well. And the Canucks, well, they snap a quick 2-game losing streak. They put an end to Seattle's 4-game winning streak. And it's Kevin Lankinen again in a shootout. The guy's a sorcerer. There's no other way to describe what he does. He's now 17 for 17. I repeat, 17 for 17, staring down opponents in the skills competition. He did it in Boston just before the break, and he does it here against the Seattle Kraken. It's a skill. There's no doubt about it. And with Kevin Lankinen between the pipes, they go to a shootout. It almost feels like a guaranteed victory for the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, if Kevin Lankinen's in that, absolutely. And once Liam Ogren hops over the boards as well, true. Jeff. I mean, the man's hot as well in the shootout. But what can you say? You mentioned the 17 for 17. 48 of 54 career. Like, it is just, it's silly.
It is because there are a lot of really good goaltenders in the National Hockey League, and nobody in the history of the game, and I know shootouts haven't been around forever, but they've been around long enough. Like, as you said, that's up over 50 attempts now, and he has barely been beaten. I had to look after the Boston game. I was like, nobody scored against him this year. Who was the last guy to score a shootout goal against Kevin Lankinen? It was Kent Johnson of Columbus. Remember that crazy game last season where the Canucks had a big lead and they let it get away? They had to score late. It went to a shootout. Kent Johnson scored. 4 guys beat Lankinen last year, but that's last year. This year, 17 for 17. And he helps the Canucks pick up points here against a Seattle team that was clawing its way back up the standings with the win. The Vancouver Canucks leap over both Chicago, understandable. The Winnipeg Jets just continue in a free fall. They lost to Edmonton in regulation time. So the Canucks are, once again, they're out of the basement. Not with a lot of room to spare, but they are looking down upon 2 other teams in the National Hockey League. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and we want you to be a part of the program as always. Keep it coming with the Super Chat, supporting a great charity partner. It is the season of giving, and every dollar helps. Super Chat charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. You bring it with a Super Chat, it'll get to the top of the queue, and we will incorporate it into the program. Now, we can sit here and go through the shootout attempts, and we probably will at some point, but the only reason this thing got to a shootout and through overtime, again, Kevin Lankinen and the Canucks got skated circles around in the third period. Shots were 16-3 in favor of the Seattle Kraken. Climate Pledge Ice looked like it was tilted down toward Kevin Lankinen. It was just one-way traffic. And I think for a couple of reasons, this is a good story. Like, I get that people don't want the Canucks to win. They're going to win some hockey games. But if Kevin Lankinen can show some form here, and it's been a struggle for him in the first half of the season, but if he can show some form,
then the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be on the phone.
Well, there's that, but also it is likely to alleviate the workload on Thatcher Demko, right? If Lankinen continues to struggle, we've seen it before. Coaches are going to turn to Demko and say, well, we've got this guy. He gives us a chance to win almost every time out. We're going to continue to play him, and ultimately you play him into the ground. This way, at least Lankinen gives the Canucks an option. Now, they've got a back-to-back here, so Demko will go on Tuesday against Philadelphia, and then they see the Kraken again and Boston back-to-back later in the week. You'd think they would split those two. But when they go out on this next Eastern road trip, unlike the last one, it doesn't have to be Thatcher Demko every night out for the Vancouver Canucks. Kevin Lankinen is working his way back into form. He was really good in that Boston game and was really good, particularly in the third period here tonight.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, I want to talk bigger picture about the goaltending a little bit later, but just based on this game, Kevin Lankinen is the only reason they even had a chance in this hockey game. You mentioned being outshot 16-3 in that third period. They weren't good at all. They weren't good to start this game. To be completely honest, it was two bad teams.
Yep.
It really was. The Vancouver Canucks and Seattle Kraken, they're not world beaters. The high rivalry thing, it hasn't become a thing. I know that Garland and McCann did getting into a scrap, so there's a little bit more feeling than usual, but it was two teams that a lot of the shots were perimeter. Elias Pettersson, obviously the excellent one on his goal. But beyond that, they weren't trading chances. Overtime wasn't very good. And then you get to the shootout, and everyone's sitting here. You and I are like, how many is this guy going to stop? That was the most exciting part of this game.
Well, I said we would sort of recap the shootout. Freddie Gaudreau starts things off for the Kraken. He's denied. Connor Garland gets his opportunity. He is stopped. And then Ilya Tolvanen, who was the second star of the week in the National Hockey League, was on a 6-game run. I think he had 10 points in 6 games. He was all over the puck in this hockey game. He comes in. Lankinen stops him. So EP40 gets an opportunity. Looked like he had scored, but he put his own rebound in, and you don't get 2 chances. You get 2 chances in life sometimes, but not on a shootout opportunity. And so ref in position waved it off, and it didn't count. So to the third round, Jordan Eberle, the captain, leading scorer of the Kraken. Again, Lankinen just makes it look easy. And then in comes Liam Ogren. Went to the backhand deke on Jeremy Swayman in Boston this time. Spotted an opening, goes 5-hole, and calls ball game. And so Liam Ogren, who didn't do a ton in this game, although he does pick up an assist on a Linus Carlson goal, and it feels like there's one of those every night out for the Vancouver Canucks these days. It's a remarkable story there. So Ogren finishes with an assist and the shootout winner. He's played 7 games for the Canucks, and he has decided a pair of them in shootouts, both on the road in Boston and now here in Seattle. With the victory, the Canucks are 16-9-3. So it's their 16th win of the season, 35 points now in the standings. And again, a road record that is fine. There is nothing wrong with the Vancouver Canucks record away from home, 12-8-2. It's that just hot garbage that they've put on the ice at Rogers Arena, and they're going to be the tired team coming home to face Rick Tocchet at the Philadelphia Flyers on Tuesday night, and so they'll be put to the test on home ice. But 12-8-2, if they had anything close to that on home ice, they would be living above the playoff bar in the Western Conference.
What's been the most impressive thing for you about Linus Carlson? 4th goal in his last 6 games. We've sat here and talked about who's going to be the guy. Is he going to be a player? Is it going to be Ratu? Is it going to be Carlson? Ratu is now coming into his own as well. I mean, you have to take the overtime face-off. Elias Pettersson's out there to take it. The 23-year-old hops over the board and says, "Nah, dude, I got this."
Yeah, and he did.
And he did. Won it, cleared it. Obviously, ended up winning the hockey game. But Linus Carlson first. I think this little run of his, I think it's a lot more confidence, but it's getting into those areas where you don't really expect him to get to.
Well, I think we're seeing the player that we watched closely in the AHL in the run to the Calder Cup. I mean, he scored a ton of those goals in and around the net, getting to the net, staying at the net front. Puck would find him. I liked a lot about that goal. It comes 3 seconds after the Connor Garland fight. Is there a direct correlation? The Canucks would say absolutely. Face off to the right of Joey Decord, and it's Marco Rossi out for the draw, but Liam Ogren makes the play there. He jumps the defenseman, I think it was Ryan Lindgren, and gets position on him and is able to put the puck into space, and then Carlson swoops in there and scores his 9th of the season, which has him tied with a whole bunch of other guys now on this Canucks team for second, behind only Kiefer Sherwood. So if you told me that at New Year's, essentially, that Linus Carlson would be the second leading goal scorer on the Vancouver Canucks, I'd say, okay, I'm not sure how that's going to happen exactly, but we have done this each and every night, so we know how the Canucks have put themselves in the position they have. But just individuals, when you're looking at good news stories, there aren't nearly enough of them for the Canucks this season. That's why they were 30th in the overall standings. But Kiefer Sherwood's been one, and Linus Carlson absolutely wanting to prove that this is where he belongs in the National Hockey League at a time when Jake DeBrusk is coming out of the lineup, and if DeBrusk gets back in, somebody else is going to have to come out of the lineup. Carlson's showing nightly now that he doesn't want to be that guy, doesn't want to let go of his spot in the lineup, and he doesn't deserve to. And so, for the coaching staff, Adam Foote had to endure a bunch of injuries earlier in the year where he had guys that really didn't belong in the National Hockey League, but he had no choice. he now has options where tonight it was DeBrusk and David Kampf back-to-back. They may elect to put both those guys in. We'll see.
Yeah.
But if they do,
Someone's got to come out.
who comes out? Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see there. But, this was relatively easy. It wasn't a ton of heavy lifting for Linus Carlson. But, again, it's putting himself in the right spot. And the puck sort of finding him these days. And as I said, he's up to 9. Like, he could be a double-digit goal scorer before we flip the calendar to 2026.
And it's going to be interesting because you mentioned guys coming out. Adam Foote has choices of who he wants to put into the lineup. But the Canucks aren't really playing for anything in the standings. So usually it's win and you're in. If you're coach, most cases it is win and you're in. Now it's you win and you have to look at it and see who's earned the right to play the next game.
Sure.
Guys are battling for jobs night in and night out. And so, like you mentioned, it's going to be fascinating to see who plays tomorrow.
I mean, on some level, the message has now been sent. Veteran guy, long-term contract. He sits tonight. I expect that DeBrusk gets back in against the Flyers. I think, although we saw it with Nils Höglander before Christmas, it was 1 game and then it became 3 games all of a sudden. After a victory like this one, I still think if you're sending the message to DeBrusk, a game at this point, and then get him back in, I mean, is it as simple as, all right, we kind of made an example of you, Jake. Brock, you haven't done a lot around here. Brock Besser has to understand that all bets are off now, and that if his number is called as the guy that has to sit for a game, he can't be shocked, he can't be surprised, he can be disappointed, but name of the game is putting a puck in the net, and he has not done that for far too long now. So I had no issues. Jake DeBrusk can sort of at least put himself in this position, and I don't think it's been an effort thing with Jake. I don't think I've ever gone to the game and thought he's dogging it, he's not trying hard, but he's lost his way. Mm-hmm. He has 1 goal in 16 games. It came on a power play. We know the struggle is 5-on-5, and for whatever reason, and I would say this about any Canuck winger this season, that they haven't had the best group of centers to work with, obviously. And Jake DeBrusk is a guy that needs, he's a complementary piece. And I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory way, but he's not a guy that goes and generates a lot on his own.
Yep.
And he has played with Lucas Reichel and David Kampf, and Nils Åman had a couple of games, and there have been others. But now the Canucks have Elias Pettersson, they've got Marco Rossi, they've got centers, and you want to believe that now some of the offense will flow through these wingers. So I'm kind of curious to see what Jake DeBrusk takes from this. Full credit to him for standing in on Sunday afternoon and being willing to talk about it. There's a lot of guys in that room that I think would have just said, no, I'm not going to talk about being a healthy scratch.
Because I'm not playing. Exactly.
Jake's a talker, though, and he dealt with it head on, and I certainly appreciate that. So we'll see if he gets back in the lineup, and we'll see if Adam Foote tips his hand post-game here in Seattle. Canucks fell behind 1-0. Weird sequence because they had a power play, and then Linus Carlson took a penalty 10 seconds into the power play. Then the Canucks get called for too many men. So they go from having a power play to now being shorthanded, a 4-on-3, and Jared McCann absolutely wired it. Dude has always been able to shoot the puck, even as a teenager. In his brief time here with the Canucks, he got a sense of it. It was in the wheelhouse, and I long for a day when a Vancouver Canuck will take the one-timer on the power play again. Irf used to be a guy around here that did it, but we haven't seen that for a while, but McCann made no mistake. There was no messing around on that one.
No, and it's a great shot by Jared McCann, who, we were talking about it with producer Jacob. He's probably going to end up in the Seattle Kraken Ring of Honor by the time it's all said and done. He's got 1 year left on his contract. And he's probably going to sign a long-term extension there. But yeah, good to see Jared McCann go and be able to do that. But again, the Canucks just putting themselves in trouble, just, shooting themselves in the foot constantly again and again.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, they're
the name of the game.
A flawed hockey team.
The second Seattle goal is just like that again.
Well, and that was the thing. Get out of the first period in a 1-1 tie, fine, whatever. No, they couldn't get out of their own way, quite literally. So they called for too many men on the ice penalty that led to the McCann goal. So part of a bad change there. And then with 25 seconds to go, I think it was Yves Bouillon that hopped off the ice. DPD hops on and crashes into Tyler Myers. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, there's Jacob Melanson going down the left wing. Nice centering pass Ryan Winterton goes hard to the net and is able to stick it in behind Kevin Lankinen. Joey DeCoeur got an assist on that one, by the way. So shout out to a goalie picking up a point in this hockey game. But yeah, I mean, both of the goals the Canucks gave up. The only 2 goals Seattle scored in this hockey game, sloppy, bad line changes. Coaches hate that stuff. Remember how many times Rick Tocchet talked about bad changes? We haven't heard that much from Adam Foote. Maybe it's not the pet peeve for him that it was for Rick Tocchet, who's going to be behind the bench at Rogers Arena tomorrow night. But yes, like, you know, sometimes it is just the simple stuff that you have to be able to execute at this level. And twice, poor line changes cost the Canucks in this hockey game.
Well, and it was coming off the boards or right out of the bench. Like, he took this weird route to go and try and get positioning, and effectively takes Tyler Myers completely out of the play, so he wasn't able to get back in on that. And it was funny because we kind of laughed at it. Both the Canuck defenders are just laying on the ice. Puck's already in the back of the net. There you go, 2-1.
Yeah, not their finest moment, but look at that. EP40 swoops in to save the day. And it was a pretty goal. There was a lot to like in the 2-2 goal for the Vancouver Canucks. It's the 9th of the season from Elias Pettersson. As we show it here on the live stream, we see PD pulling the trigger, and that was sort of vintage Elias Pettersson, more of that. But this thing starts way back in their own zone. Booyam to Willander. Willander with the cross ice. How about the rink wide pass onto the stick of Evander Kane? And even Evander Kane, like, he reads it, he puts it in a space that Elias Pettersson's able to skate onto. No hesitation from 40 whatsoever, and he wires it up under the bar. So, yeah, I mean, I just liked an awful lot of that sequence 5 minutes into the second period.
Yeah, and even going further back to that a little bit, Jeff. So Willander gets the puck. He's looking at Brock right ahead of him. Brock points the stick the other direction, says, "Go rink wide." Go rink wide to Evander.
Everybody should scream, "Go rink wide."
Literally, go rink wide. Puts it right over to Evander, pops it in Elias Pettersson's wheelhouse, and yes, he still can shoot the puck like that. Will we see it more consistently? That remains to be seen, but a hell of a shot from Elias Pettersson to tie the hockey game.
Go rink wide. Let's get to the 3 stars here on Rink Wide. We always start looking at 3 stars in the building, selected by the Seattle media. Liam Ogren with the assist and the shootout winner is star number 1. Jared McCann with that power play laser, and Jacob Melanson. Jacob Melanson, he had a nice assist, but I didn't
First
notice.
NHL point.
Okay.
That's probably why they gave it to him. Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a hard night to pick stars. Nobody other than Lankinen really stood out. I'm a little surprised that no love for Lankinen gets the win and all the shootout saves and that third period. But no, those are the 3 stars in the building. 3 stars here on Rink Wide are brought to you by Greta Bar. And how about this? We've got another Canucks Army watch party coming up soon on January the 10th. Vancouver and Toronto. Jot down that date. Got more details about how to reserve a table. We'll get those to you. But keep the date clear on your calendar, Jan 10th. An early start from Toronto. If you've been to a watch party before, you know what to expect. And if you haven't, come check Greta out. Game day food and drink specials. Lots of fun. A chance to connect with other hockey fans here in town. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar. Let the games begin. 3 stars. There's Kevin Lankinen. Stops 37 of 39. 6 Seattle power plays. They go 1 for 6 with the man advantage, including overtime. Had to face down another Seattle power play. Evander Kane, not one of the 3 stars, took his 20th minor penalty in overtime, a tripping call that put the Kraken up a man. But Lankinen up to the challenge. We've documented his night, and it's good to see wins back-to-back games or back-to-back starts for the first time all season. That's the struggle it's been for Kevin Lankinen. Hadn't won consecutive games, but he won his last start in Boston before the break, and this one. Filip Hronek. Filip Hronek now wearing a letter and looking every bit the part in this hockey game. A career high 29 minutes and 20 seconds, but it goes deeper than that. He played 3.5 minutes of overtime, and half of that was on the penalty kill. He had 4 blocks. That was a game high on both teams, and just digging in and continuing to perform. I mean, he's on a very short list of Canucks MVPs this season. Like, who are the other candidates, honestly? He's in the conversation, at the very least, at the midway mark. And there's Ile Tolvanen, second star of the week in the NHL, third star of the week here on Rink Wide. Well, maybe he'll Well, he'd get another chance. Friday, they'll see the Kraken again. Maybe he can work his way up the 3-star power rankings here. But 6 shots on 10 attempts. Was all over the puck, had the chance in the shootout. Didn't score there, but he's been a nice find for the Seattle Kraken off waivers from Nashville, and he is their scoring leader on the season. It's a modest total, like it is for the Vancouver Canucks, but Eli Tolvanen is the 3rd star of this hockey game. So there you go. The 3 stars are brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. Now, honorable mention has to go to Connor Garland.
Yep. Absolutely.
And not necessarily for anything that he did offensively or with the puck, but Connor Garland gave Jared McCann a little bit of a shot. Coming down the left wing boards there in the first period, McCann took a number, and off the face-off, away they went, dropped the gloves, and we've seen Garland do this. Like, I'm not surprised. We talk about a guy truly dragging his team into the fight. That's what Connor Garland does, and if the occasion calls for it, he's second fight. The Canucks, this is just their 4th fight of the season. They are not a team built to duke it out. There are teams that have had like mid-teen number of fights in the National Hockey League. The Vancouver Canucks coming into this one were tied for the league low with 3 fights. That's now up to 4, and Connor Garland has 2 of them. So he's got the last 2, in fact. Remember, he fought Radish in Tampa Bay, and something happened because then he missed the next game. Something happened in the fight. He was okay. He missed 1 game. He came back, but here he is throwing punches, trading, and not afraid to throw punches. McCann came with 1 early that went over Garland, and after that, I think Connor Garland probably give him the decision.
Ringside Vancouver. That's
there
where we
go.
are right now.
Yeah,
but I think it's funny because Connor Garland, you don't necessarily think of him as a guy that's going to do that, but obviously when you hear the numbers, he kind of is. And Jared McCann, a guy that doesn't fight too much, but not afraid to do it. I don't think Jared McCann liked the little elbow in the chops. On the TV replay, it kind of showed that he looked at the bench, says, "I'm coming." Mm-hmm. Favorite part was at the end when the referees got in. Connor Garland had like a jump uppercut right at the end of it, so it was pretty good. I mean, look, it was great entertainment, but for a guy and a team that isn't necessarily, like, I think that we can sit here and say that no team is really afraid of the Vancouver Canucks when they go in to play them night in and night out. This is what you need. Like the bench was losing its mind on this fight. Like, they got them excited. It got them into the game. They scored right after.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
3 seconds after the fight. And you're right. There was the bench shot, all the guys standing up. And that's what Connor Garland does. Mm-hmm. Like, just the way he plays, he's frenetic. It's about energy. And other guys feed off that. So, again, on a night when, a message is sent to a veteran. And, again, when we said, like, it could happen to Brock Besser, I don't think it's going to happen to Connor Garland. But I think maybe this was Connor Garland saying, like, screw it. Like, if I'm going to show that I get the message that the coach is sending here, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to just kind of fire the hockey club up. So as we talk about Connor Garland, let's move into the stat that stands out, and it's always delivered by Uber Eats. Uber Eats enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Every time the Canucks play at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. And this stat speaks to what you just said, that teams don't fear the Vancouver Canucks. Connor Garland is the only Vancouver forward this season with a fight.
Yes.
Fights, plural, for him. As we said, the Canucks I can run their fight log. It is short. This won't take long. Victor Mancini fought Brandon Duhaime in Washington that afternoon, early Sunday start when Hedl and Lekermacki and Bluger all got hurt.
Yep.
And then Connor Garland was in the middle of the next fight. He was on the receiving end of the hard hit from Sam Carrick when the Rangers were through town and Marcus Pettersson stepped up. And then after that, it's Garland. It's Radish on November the 16th, and now Jared McCann. Connor Garland, their smallest forward, is the only forward to fight for the Vancouver Canucks. And I'm not here with a bloodthirst. I don't need the gloves to come off each and every night. But that is a stat that stands out.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, we're not advocating guys to go and fight every single night or things like that, but sometimes in a game when you're down, your team needs a little jump. And Connor Garland can't be the only guy doing that or taking a message like you just said. Like, there's guys on this team that have a lot of fights in their career that really haven't done anything. When Quinn Hughes was getting smacked around left, right, and center, no one was doing anything. Yeah. I mean, now that he's gone, maybe you see why no one did anything. But I think that, you look at it and say, when a game needs something, there are guys that have been around this league for a long time and do know that there are veterans in this group that can go and do it.
I think picking up what you're putting down here.
There's a couple.
Like, it's not an easy job. I get that. And it's easy for me to sit here in a comfy chair in a studio with bright lights and say, hey, more guys got to get there and fight. When you look at the Vancouver Canucks forward group, outside of Evander Kane, who? Like, honestly, when you go down the list of, like, look at the guys that they had in their lineup tonight. I mean, Kiefer Sherwood has had a couple of tussles in his career. But after that, like, the list gets pretty thin in a real hurry. So, yes, it stands out that Connor Garland's their only forward, but really when you look at their forward group, maybe it shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Got to bring back Joe LeBate. No, that was desperation time. And
really
Joe got his little look, got the one game earlier this season. But no, I mean, they're not a team that's built to offer up a whole lot of physical resistance or any kind of deterrent, to the point that Philadelphia elected to scratch both Nick Delorier and Garnet Hathaway, and we'll see if either of those guys plays. I was surprised Ryan Reeves played against the Canucks on Saturday, and then he goes out and opens the scoring with the San Jose Sharks. But certainly they don't have anybody that's going to square up against Ryan Reeves. So, could they be a tougher team? Like, I think at times it bothered Rick Tocchet, just the way he played the game, the way he viewed the game. And Adam Foote obviously cut from a similar cloth. And I wondered if he's, in a true moment of clarity, if you sat Adam Foote down and would you like your team to be a little bit tougher? Yeah, I mean, the game's changed. I get that. But I think the way they view the game, sure. It's a contact sport. There's always going to be the element of toughness. And it's just, that's not an area. And not that the Canucks get pushed around. Like, there haven't been many nights where I've thought, they're getting pushed around.
No.
There have been some times where, a hit on a player, you want to see a little bit of pushback. But in terms of getting run out of the rink physically, like, I don't think there have been many nights. And again, I don't think there are many nights around the league where that happens. But it's still hockey.
But we watch these games night in and night out, and you're sitting here watching. How many of their games have feeling, like actual feeling in these hockey games that they're playing?
But that's what happens when you're 30th in the league.
It's true.
And so, like, it was so quiet all day in the build-up to Canucks Kraken. I mean, in Seattle, they're still, like, dissecting another Seahawks win, now looking ahead to another biggest game of the season and what's to come for the Seahawks. Like, I don't think this game tonight was a blip on the radar in Seattle. Oh. And for the Canucks, it's a Monday between Christmas and New Year's, coming off a bad loss to San Jose. Like, there isn't much anticipation for these games. Now, they're pros. They have to go out and play. And so they've got to manufacture their own energy and emotion. And that's what Connor Garland did in this hockey game. So credit to him on that one. A couple super chats that we want to get to here. And again, we appreciate the support for the BC Mental Health Foundation. Our good friend Spatzilli coming with Rink City. We may have to get new hats made. There's got the nice Rink Wide hat, but Rink City. Free Petey says, Hedl better than Rossi. Smash the like button. Well, look, I saw Filip Hedl with my own eyes twice over the weekend. He is alive. He's on skates. I posted video of him in his red non-contact jersey. I was surprised when I went to the rink for the first morning skate there after the holiday break. Like, there had been no indication at all that Filip Hedl was going to be part of the group. And then Adam Foote yesterday saying weeks until he's back in the lineup. So he very clearly is ramping things back up here for those that and when I posted the video, a lot of people are like, just retire already. Like, there are a lot of people that don't have faith that, anything is going to be different. And I don't know what will make this attempt different for Filip Hedl. But he's back. He's back around the group. And the indication is that he wants to play and play again before the Olympics even. So we'll see about that. as far as Hedl better than Rossi, Philip Hedl's played 6 games this year. He got off to a decent start, but the injury black cloud is always going to hang over him.
Yeah.
And there's so much uncertainty there. Marco Rossi's been underwhelming in his game so far. That's not me writing him off or saying that the Canucks blew it by getting him in the trade. I just think, and I said to you at one point in the third period, I think that's the first time I've really heard Rossi's name in this hockey game. I mean, I know he's a better player than he's shown, and there's clearly going to be an adjustment. And again, you go from a team that has designs on making some waves, even though they're in an absolute slugfest there in that Central Division. But you go from a team that was going to make the playoffs to this Canucks team that was dead last, and they had a little bit of early success after the trade, but Rossi,
you're supposed to be the guy right away.
And I think it was pretty clear when they had him playing as a top line center that he was in over his head there. But now that Petey's back, and Petey took on a fair workload in this hockey game, finished with 20 minutes and 31 seconds of ice time. Rossi wasn't too far behind, 19-16. So, there's a legit 1-2 down the middle. Again, this isn't me saying, Marco Rossi can't play here, can't help the Vancouver Canucks. I just think it's been a slow start where Liam Ogren is picking up points in the run of play and also finding a way to make an impact when these games go to a shootout. Really just haven't seen an awful lot from Marco Rossi. 3 shots on goal. Saw off in the face-off circle. He goes 8-8, so he's 50% on the draw. But there isn't a whole lot more there in his stat line. So I don't know about you, but just really haven't seen a ton yet from Marco Rossi.
Yeah, going back to the Philip Hedl retirement thing, he's owed $4.37 million next year. He's not retiring. It's not happening. I don't think so. And I think that, for him and, maybe his, mental well-being, he wants to see if he can do it again. And obviously these guys are hockey players and professional athletes. He wants to come back. So let's see what happens. Obviously it's still weeks away. So once that ramps up, we'll start to talk about it. I think Marco Rossi had a tough go. You mentioned that this team is going to go to the playoffs that he was on, the Minnesota Wild. Then you come here and your number one center's out, and you get thrown in, and David Camp is the next guy behind you. Like, that's a little bit of pressure for you to come in and make an impact right away.
Yep.
And you don't know who you're playing with. It changes every single night. The guys that you're playing with aren't doing anything. Jake DeBrusk, albeit the healthy scratch here. So it was an unfortunate situation for him. Now with Elias Pettersson back, if he can slide into that second-line center role, or even if and when maybe down the road Philip Hedl comes back and it ends up being that third-line center? Is he going to be? Where does he fit? I think that's a good spot for Marco Rossi. Even if Philip Hedl was healthy, I still think that they do make the trade because I just think that Quinn Hughes didn't want to be here. And I think that was something that they had to get done. So their center ice depth was obviously lacking anyways. And now, it's starting to pick up a little bit. Emergence of Aatu Ratu coming in and being dominant in the faceoff circle and different guys coming in and being able to play that position. But back to Marco Rossi. I don't think that we can sit here and say that we expect Marco Rossi to score, goals or get points every single game, but you kind of want to see him and just be a little bit more effective in games.
Yeah, look, he's been a 60-point guy already in the National Hockey League before the age of 25. Yeah. You don't get to 60 points without having some moments. And that's right now, I'm just looking for those moments.
Yeah.
Again, he's not hurting the hockey club. Underlying numbers were fine. They're on the road. They don't control the matchups. Basically a push across the board in his underlying numbers at 5-on-5. So it was okay. I want to see more, and I would assume he wants to see more. And yeah, he got his first the other night, scored one at both ends of the ice against the San Jose Sharks. He's going to have to wear that one. But he is on the board. He's got a goal and an assist. So he's played, 7 games now, has a couple of points. There has to be a little bit more there to give if you are Marco Rossi. So we shall see.
Ogren, 4 points in his 7 games, though.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And limited ice time, right?
Yeah.
Like, he didn't play an awful lot again. But 13 minutes and 13 seconds, that's enough ice time to leave your mark on a hockey game, and that's what he has done here. When I looked through the ice time for the Vancouver Canucks tonight, Nils Höglander at 9 minutes and 3 seconds. He was the low ice time guy, followed closely by Max Sasson. Aatu Ratu got up over 11 minutes because he had some shorthanded duty out there in overtime, as we talked about. Again, Ratu, and they had the graphic up on screen on the broadcast. Where Kevin Lankinen is a shootout sorcerer, Aatu Ratu is one of the best face-off guys in the National Hockey League. 23 years of age. Goes 11-6 on the draw. Flipping the hand over for the right hand of the ice, and he gets so low down, but it's so effective. And, again, to think that they were playing David Kampf ahead. Like, I'm curious where it goes for David Kampf here. Now that they've got healthy centers. Like, is it a thanks for coming? We needed you to plug a hole for 17 games, and now you very much are a 13th kind of forward who, might not get back in unless there's injuries. I know I said earlier I expect DeBrusk to get back in. I don't know that I expect them to get David. David Kampf's brought some penalty killing utility. I don't want to undersell him on that front. But, again, they've got these bodies that they want to move forward with. They, as an organization, have used the rebuild word here. David Kampf doesn't figure in their short or long-term plans. And so it'll be interesting to see sort of his utilization here over the second half of the season.
Well, if you just look at the centers, like you mentioned, is he going to give you more than guys that are currently in those positions on night in and night out? And I don't think that he is.
Outside of the penalty kill. But the other part, too, is, and again, Teddy Bluger hasn't been around practice here after Christmas. I know Adam Foote had said he had hoped to see him after Christmas, but he was asked about him, and he said no update. So that's the other part, is if Teddy Bluger comes back, like, he is essentially a David Kampf clone. And I think they're going to want to give Bluger an opportunity to play. He's a veteran guy. He's been through the battles here. He's had a tough go. So how does David Kampf? I don't think you have the two of them in the lineup together ever, unless they run into more injuries or unless they start to peel bodies away here, and that's a possibility. And we've got somebody in the chat here asking. Dimitri says, when is the best time to sell with so many buyers in the market? Other than the obvious UFAs, what vets are coveted? Well, the UFAs, Kiefer Sherwood, and Sherwood had a strong game tonight. Just look at the numbers. Kiefer Sherwood had 10 shot attempts, 4 shots on goal, 10 total attempts, 5 hits doing what Kiefer Sherwood does, and 3+ minutes of shorthanded time again. So every night out is a showcase for Kiefer Sherwood, and teams are watching. There's no doubt there were a ton of scouts in Scouts Row with the Sharks and the Canucks going at it, and I think that's going to be a regular thing for every Canucks home game. The scouts will continue to circle here. My fear is that the injury bug is going to hurt or bite Kiefer Sherwood. So I just think if the Canucks can get an offer they like the Quinn Hughes deal, not the same kind of offer, but I'm just saying, pull the trigger. If you get an offer that you are looking for, don't wait. Don't invite injury into this equation and scuttle your plans. This guy's too valuable of a trade chip. So I kind of think with all these bodies around too, like now sort of feels like if you are going to trade Kiefer Sherwood, like I don't know what more. He's got 16 goals. He's killing penalties. He's hitting people. Like, teams know what he is. I don't see the Canucks creating more of a market unless there are injuries elsewhere around the National Hockey League and a team gets a little desperate. But I would be inclined to move him just at the risk of something unfortunate happening to Kiefer Sherwood. After that, then it's an Evander Kane, like an acquired taste. Is there one team out there? That's all it takes. But is there a team out there that's going to think, hey, 34-year-old that hasn't been terribly physical, hasn't been involved offensively, took his 20th minor penalty of the season in overtime. Only Nikita Zadorov has more minor penalties in the National Hockey League this season. He's taken 20 in 37 games. So, is there a team that's thinking, hey, that's what we need for our playoff push or to insulate, in the playoffs? I don't know. I really don't know. He's played for a bunch of teams. I kind of rule those ones out. They've already been there and done that with the Evander Kane experience. So, what is the market for a 34-year-old that hasn't been terribly productive?
I think for Kiefer Sherwood, maybe they want too much right now. I don't think teams are willing to overpay when they know that if he does stay healthy, and that's the big if he does stay healthy at the deadline, the Canucks are going to be looking to get rid of him or to trade him. Evander Kane, like you mentioned, is an interesting one. I'm not entirely sure there is or how much of a market there may be for a player like him. And then just going down the list of other veterans or guys.
Well, Bluger and Forbert,
they're not playing.
And so,
and then,
I just can't imagine that there's a team that would even flip a pick for either one of those guys unless they can get back and show that, hey, they can get on their form, that they can find a way to help a team. I mean, they'd both be picked up as depth guys, but right now, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine about Bluger and Forbort getting back in the lineup at any point this season.
Yeah, and the other one I always wonder about, because he hasn't really done anything since he's come back from injury. He's got the healthy scratches, Niels Hoglander. Right.
And he's got term, so that's different.
He's got a couple years left, but yeah.
But the fact that one scratch became 3,
yeah,
and this is the 4th head coach now at the NHL level that has seen fit to park him in the press box and feel that he's got better options to go with.
Well, put it this way, it wouldn't shock me at all if he's the one that comes out tomorrow.
Right. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Like 9 minutes, 1 shot on goal,
Yeah.
1 hit, didn't really notice him. And he has to know that too. Like he's got to understand that the clock may be ticking on his time here. And look, maybe he needs a new lease on life somewhere. We talked about Eeli Tolvanen. It's worked out for him. I'm not saying that the same sorts of thing, but you just wonder if we are sort of seeing the end of the road as the Canucks have these healthy bodies. Lekkerimäki at some point you would think would get the call. And if they make deals and don't get draft picks, but if they get young players in return, like they're going to have to play those guys. So, I think everything's on the table for this organization right now, and we will see how it all plays out as the Vancouver Canucks get set to take on the Philadelphia Flyers on Tuesday night to close out the 2025 portion of their schedule. The segment of Rink Wide presented by the Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. No compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Tell you every program that you can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's it. Just the battery. 72 kilometers, enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then back home where you can recharge. It seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style. It's got the sleek, low, wide exterior and sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Plug in to recharge at home or at one of over 2,000 public charging stations in British Columbia alone. Right now, you can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
You brought up a point about Kevin Lankinen and his usage, and if they play him more, it decreases the workload for Thatcher Demko. But my question to you is then what's the plan of the way that they want to go this season? If you want to lighten the workload, what are you lightening the workload for? You're not going to make the playoffs. To keep him healthy for summer? Or to maybe show him off here near the deadline? I just...
Demko himself has said he wants to be here through the struggles.
100%.
But I still think, and now Carolina, learning today that Pyotr Kochetkov is out for the season, that's a good team that cannot throw a season like this one away. Jim Rutherford, some strong connections to the area. We're spitballing and connecting dots, not reporting anything here, but you just wonder, does Carolina make a phone call? The Canucks have 2 goaltenders here. Both have term now. But, again, I just don't think Carolina can have the season it's having and run the risk. Frederik Andersen can never stay healthy, and is it Brandon Bussey, guy that basically off the scrap heap? Is he going to deliver them where they want to go come playoff time? So, who knows? Connect the dots sometimes, and we'll see. But I just think for Demko, the idea of him getting too much of a workload here, you run the risk of injury with that player. And so they've invested in him. Contract, the extension kicks in next year, getting a healthy raise. You don't want to have him have to go into the offseason and go through the whole rehab thing again. I just, he had played 6 or 7, even though there was a little holiday break in there. I don't think that they can allow themselves to get into that kind of trap. And so that's why I say I think it's important that Lankinen shows better than he has, and he was really good in this hockey game for a star, 37 saves, as we said. We talk about workload. Now, Lankinen will get the night off tomorrow against Philadelphia.
Probably gets the Kraken on Friday.
And then you wonder, you beat the Kraken.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you come back? But he also beat the Bruins and sees Boston. So, but I think that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
You've seen the Kraken. Now you could throw the curve at the Kraken and come back with Thatcher Demko, I suppose. But I think, Lankinen was good against the Kraken. He's kind of got the book on them. Bring him back on Friday and then have Demko face the Boston Bruins on Saturday. But regardless who's in the net, like both of these guys would probably tell you, the shot totals are way too high. The last 4 games, the Vancouver Canucks have given up 43 shots, 39 shots, 37 shots, and tonight 39. Like that's an average of 40 shots per game. They are 2-2 through those 4 games. So Lankinen's won a pair of shootouts, the Boston game and this one. But that is playing with fire. And again, they're not in a position really where the results matter all that much. But if it's about process, like for 3 weeks up until these games in Boston and Philadelphia, the Canucks had really cracked down. Like they had limited shot attempts and shots on goal. They weren't winning a ton because they don't score a lot of goals, but they had really, from about the middle of November, something had changed, and they were showing some form defensively. But boy, these last 4 games, if you continue to give up 40 shots a night, you're not going to win more than you lose. You're just not.
Well, if they didn't block those 15, it would have been over 50.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of been their MO, is trying to get in the shooting lane, and teams still pepper the goalies. But also, shots.
Like, look at the 4 teams. Boston, Philadelphia, San Jose, Seattle. Like, a bunch of sort of mid-teams that are in and around the playoff bar. Flyers are having a nice season, but they're not Stanley Cup contenders. And yet, that level of team is getting 40 on the regular against the Vancouver Canucks right now. So, something to watch, something that they are going to have to tighten up again. And you just don't want to hang your goaltenders out and expect them to deliver results night after night after night. And yet, for the most part, they've been able to do that. So at least here in the last little bit. We'll see. Again, they get the Flyers, they get the Kraken. They're home for 3 now. So the Flyers, the Kraken, and then Boston, and then out on the road for another Eastern road trip before they really start the run of home games. 22 of the final 35 are on home ice. They got a couple of 8-game homestands coming up in the second half of the season. The midway mark of the year comes on Saturday night against the Boston Bruins. That's game 41. So we'll have a chance to sort of break things down then later in the week in terms of midway mark and report cards. But it's the final game of the calendar year. It's the final game of December. Final game of the month tomorrow, which means we're hauling out the vibe meter again.
I'm excited for it.
A lot has changed.
Quinn Hughes is no longer a Canuck.
The last vibe meter came out for this hockey club.
It was bad then, and then they lost Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, but they're up 2 spots. They're number 30 in the overall standings here.
Big win over the Kraken in a shootout to get to leapfrog the Chicago Blackhawks and Winnipeg Jets.
Yes. All right. Busy night around the National Hockey League. Some of those teams that the Canucks are in this Turtle Derby with. Calgary won in overtime, beat Boston, Nashville. Steven Stamkos has come back from the dead. He's got 17 goals. He's got 6 game winners in the month of December. I read that somewhere that he has tied the NHL record for game-winning goals in a month with 6. And there's still a game to go, I think. Remember earlier in the year when people were,
he's washed.
He's done. And there's not going to be a team that wants to trade for him. All of a sudden, he's one of the hottest goal scorers in the National Hockey League.
Because he knows now that teams are going to want to trade for him. He's like, I got to show something here. Get the hell out of Nashville.
Nashville beat Utah 4-3. How about the Buffalo Sabres, Irv?
They're your team.
9. Running out of fingers here. Now, their next game's in Dallas. That's going to be a challenge for them.
Yes.
But they're taking on all comers right now. They beat St. Louis 9 straight. What was it? You told me the last time they won 9 was, or 10.
9 was in 7 years ago. The last time they won 9 games in a row. Or out of streak.
So
Buffalo's been bad. We all know they've been bad.
Yeah.
But Jarmo Kekalainen just giving his team the supreme most confidence ever, saying we can make the playoffs this year, and they just go on a heater.
A busy night around the NHL. Yeah. Not nearly as busy tomorrow, but the Canucks and the Flyers will wrap up a 5-game Tuesday, and I know that you've had your eye on a couple of the games on the out-of-town scoreboard. It's time for our Bet365 line of the night.
All right, Jacob, give it to me. We're going to go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe they are playing the New Jersey Devils. I like the Leafs at home. Sheldon Keefe back in Toronto. Again, he's already done that song and dance before, but I like the Leafs. I like the Penguins at home against the Carolina Hurricanes because the Hurricanes have absolutely no goalie. And the Philadelphia Flyers on the second of back-to-backs for the Vancouver Canucks. Rick Tocchet, big money on the board game for Rick Tocchet here. Video tribute at all. What? Really? Are they doing one? Probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, we shall see.
And so you put those three games together, a little 3-game parlay. Pretty good odds there, plus 638. Whatever you bet, it's never ordinary. A Bet365, download the app, get on the game, use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
Make sure you follow Rink Wide on all of our socials. We had a lot of traffic for the Jake DeBrusk interview over the weekend, and if you haven't seen it in its entirety, again, just good honesty, candor from a veteran guy, but it's up at our Canucks Army YouTube channel, so you may want to check that out. But Rink Wide all season long. We've been posting more and more things from the rink on the Rink Wide YouTube channel, so make sure you hit subscribe and then set your notifications so that you do not miss a thing whenever we post new content. Canucks and Flyers, as you mentioned, Seattle was on the back half of back-to-backs tonight. Now the Canucks will be the tired team. Flyers skated here in Vancouver, so Rick Tocchet was back on Rogers Arena ice, and he'll be behind the bench. As his Flyers try to respond, they lost 4-1 in Seattle last night. Looked like they were going to get shut out. Carl Grundstrom scored with under 2 minutes to play. That was their first game out of the holiday break. So they're starting out of the holiday break on a West Coast road trip. They're back-to-back, Vancouver and Calgary. And, of course, they beat the Canucks 5-2 last week. Then went to Chicago and beat the Blackhawks 3-1 the following night. Trevor Zegras leads this team in scoring, 15 goals, 37 points. He was held off the score sheet in Seattle, and that snapped a 9-game personal point streak for him. Travis Konechny with 33 points. We saw Owen Tippett whiz past Tom Villander, score a beautiful goal. He's got 11 goals on the season as well. I was thinking about this because I was looking earlier today, and I mentioned earlier in the program, Nikita Zadorov, runaway leader in the National Hockey League with his 26 minor penalties. Evander Kane is the second guy to 20 on the season. But I wonder what Rick Tocchet thinks of Matvei Michkov leading the Philadelphia Flyers in penalties. These are not the Broad Street Bullies of years gone by. Matvei Michkov, with 36 minutes in penalties, all minors, is the penalty minute leader.
And you know those are some dumb penalties, stupid stick penalties, and you're on the offensive zone. They're tripping penalties that Tocchet absolutely hates.
Dan Vladar was in goal last night in Seattle. Now, again, it's back-to-back here. I don't know what their plan is, but I'm sure they'll split those two games. So Vladar and Sam Ersson is the other goaltender that they've got at their disposal. I read a practice report that Ersson was in what would be the starters' net at Rogers Arena, and there was some speculation that the Canucks may see Samuel Ersson tomorrow night, but we'll find out on game day. Canucks will not have any kind of activity around the rink. They'll get in. It's a short hop from Seattle, but still it'll be a late night, and then the quick turnaround here for the second of this back-to-back set, and then, of course, later in the week they do it again, but both games then are on home ice. Seattle's at home to Nashville, I think, before they come here to Vancouver on Friday night. And Friday night, by the way, is a 7:30 start. The game tomorrow against Philadelphia, standard 7 o'clock, but the game on Friday is a 7:30 start, and I think that's due to the fact that the NHL has its Winter Classic that day, and they've got a national TV block, so don't want an overlap. They want to draw as much attention as they can to the outdoor game in Florida.
Oh, yeah, because there's going to be a lot of attention drawn to the Canucks and Kraken on a 7:30 on a Friday night.
I might get a Connor Garland and Jared McCann rematch.
We'll be here, though.
Absolutely.
Yep,
we do this after each and every Vancouver Canucks game all season long. So Linus Carlson scores because he seems to always score. EP40 gets his first since that bunt out of the air, spin around in San Jose. Yeah. 40 hadn't scored a goal since November 28th. Now, he had missed a bunch of time, so it wasn't that many games, but still, first goal in a month for him. But there are some lengthy streaks that continue. Brock Besser is now 13 without a goal. It's 1 in 20. He only has 3 points in his last 18 games. And so you do wonder if he's the next guy to come out of the lineup if Adam Foote continues this path of trying to send messages to veterans and see if he can spark them. Connor Garland, we talked about the fight, but offensively, his lone goal in the last 12 was an empty netter at Madison Square Garden. And even Kiefer Sherwood, he had the hat trick against the Islanders, but those are his only 3 goals in the last, I think it's 16 games for him as well. And Evander Kane has 3 goals in his last 22 hockey games. So they're not out of the woods by any stretch here with all these veteran guys, but they are getting some scoring support a little bit lower in the lineup from guys that are scratching and clawing and want to prove that they belong here with the big league team. So again, 7 o'clock, Tuesday night, Canucks and the Philadelphia Flyers. That's when we will be back with our next episode of Rink Wide. Our thanks to Jacob Lazar, working hard behind the scenes. Good to get you back in. Hopefully you had a good break.
Yes, absolutely. Ready to go.
All right. Well, we'll do it again. So much fun. We'll do it again. Rink Wide coming your way after the Canucks and the Flyers. Thanks so much, though, for checking out this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.